move on from the fear. That's how you don't let fear stop you. You have to really be thinking about it, and you say, okay, what am I afraid of? What am I really afraid of? And we'll paint a terrible scenario. And as a dream coach, what I learned was take those objections, take those voices that you're hearing that I call the itty bitty shitty committee, and fire them and change that. Say, is that true? If I don't get this client, will I really be homeless? Will I be living on the street? Probably not. You know, whatever it is, we can dig a little deeper and find out what the base fear is that's surrounding it. It may be something from our past that we had that fear. That maybe, I know I was in a position in my life where I didn't have enough to eat. And I always have a full fridge now because it's one of my fears is to be living in poverty again. And I don't want to go there. It becomes my motivator. But I can consciously control my thoughts so that I don't spin out of control and scare myself about something that's never going to happen.
Hi, and welcome to the Success with Savita podcast. And joining me today is a very special guest. And a little backstory to this, I met Linda at a networking event. So people, please network. You can meet some amazing, inspiring people. And Linda, thank you so much for being here today and being so generous with your time. And, showing up. I know it's 9 a.m. in Canada. So thank you for giving us this special place in your weekday to come on our interview on our podcast. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's just such a pleasure to be networking with, particularly with other women. I've done networking and met some men, but it's just so inspiring because it really feels like I'm meeting a new group of sisters.
Right. I love that. I used to not network when I was in the corporate world. I've learned the power of networking now that I've started my own business. So I think I was missing something really big in my life. So thank you for being here today. And with that, I want to dive right into the conversation because I know you had a very interesting journey. And tell us about your journey so far and your work as a coach.
Well, I certainly have a long resume. I have done some of everything. I went back to university as an adult to finish my degree. I'd started it, but I finished it when I had 2 young children and an executive husband.
Wow.
I was so determined to finish that degree. And then I went to work as a travel agent. And I love that. So I really planned wonderful vacations with very complex itineraries for our family. And then that just led me into all kinds of other positions where I worked on Parliament Hill for the Government of Canada. I worked for the first female Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honorable Kim Campbell.
Wow.
She was so much fun to work with. And I ran a court reporting firm. I went to work for the Correctional Service of Canada in a prison.
Wow.
And I established the volunteer program there. And it's still going very well. Our inmates, 60% of inmates going into federal institutions, which means more than 3 years, they can't read. So they don't have much of a chance of succeeding in life.
Yeah.
I set up a program so that the volunteers would go in and teach them not only how to read, but to teach them basic life skills, how to cook, how to keep themselves clean. And I am very proud of that program. It's still going strong.
Amazing. Amazing.
And then I became a coach.
Yeah. And tell us a little bit about your coaching, the kind of work that you do in the coaching space.
It started with the corporate training programs that I designed called Fundamentals of Leadership. And it's 4-hour programs spread out a week at a time so they could implement what it is. And I've continued that with my coaching. But what happened was in the class, people would stay after and they started asking me questions. And then they hired me for one-on-one sessions. So it wasn't my intent. I love doing the training. And now I do both. I incorporate the corporate training programs, and much of it, people don't know, is in my book.
Yeah.
Asking questions, building relationships, all of that came from my corporate training programs. And
Lovely.
I can blend the two now to really benefit my clients, whether it's in a group
Mhm.
or one-on-one. And I provide training for their staff so
Okay.
that the staff is in line with the CEO.
Wow. I think you've really, I mean, from Parliament Hill to correctional services to setting up programs, you've done some really interesting, and travel, all of it with the fun part of travel, which everybody wants to do. So that's a wonderful journey. And I think a lot of it you do share in your book, the lessons that you've taken away in your book. So tell us about your book, Zest Your Life, and what's inspired your book.
It's called Zest Your Life, A Taste of Inner Wisdom.
Okay.
And I was inspired. I was at a women's circle one evening and I said something. And one of the women said, you know, if you did a workshop on that, I would come. And I gave it some thought. And then I set up a series of workshops. And it turned out that those are pretty much the 4 sections in my book. So it was Awaken the Woman Within was one of the sessions. And that's exactly what I did. Then I wrote it. I saw women change right before my eyes at the workshops. And remember, I was a corporate trainer.
Yeah.
So now I had to tone it down, soften it. I was working with men, mostly men, that are on the assembly line, putting tires together for Honda. So sitting with a group of women was an entirely different energetic. I had to get out of my head and into my heart to be able to teach. And I saw the women change before my eyes. So I learned what was working was not. I rewrote, did another series of workshops. Then I rewrote it again as a manuscript. And that's how the book came out, because somebody asked. And that's a good hint for your listeners. Usually if people are asking you about something, it's a skill or talent that you have that they want to know about.
Amazing. And so in this book, you share on page 22, right? What all your secrets, the 7 secrets of women with zest. Can we talk a little bit about that? I know I wanted to narrow down in one area and I was like, no, we don't want to narrow down into one area. Can I have you share a little bit about all these 7 areas? Oh, well, we can pick and choose. So you share the 7 secrets, and it comes one after the other, like there's an order to it as well, right? So let's talk about that. And would you like to share why you started with the first secret, and then you come down into planning, organizing, productivity, and taking action?
Well, they do build cumulatively, one on top of the other. And I did a series of women's circles where every month we covered one of the secrets, and they just loved it. So how do you stand strong? The first one is women with zest stand strong in their personal power. And I remember being in Jamaica on vacation, and I took a yoga class on the beach. And the instructor bought a copy of my book, and she started to read it. And that's the first exercise in the book is who has your power? And she said, I have no power. And this is just before the class was started. Like, what are you two talking about? I said, oh, she thinks she has no power. And everybody laughed. There were 40 of us standing on the beach, ready for her to give us the instruction. And I said, there, you have power. You have all of our attention. And at the end of the class, everyone clapped, and she understood then the power that she had. We often make it smaller. I went on my first vision quest in 2003. And one of the words that I learned to redefine was sobriety. He said, don't make it bigger than it is. Don't make it smaller than it is. Make it what it is. And we often underestimate the size of our power.
Yeah.
Walk through down a crowded street, in a mall, whatever it is, and you'll hear a baby cry. Every head will turn.
Yeah, that's true. And is this something that women you feel understand this like organically or instinctively, or it takes some time, it takes some awareness to understand what you mean. What is personal power?
Exactly. So if we think about it, we're not going to know what it is. But if your
Yes.
child is threatened or there's something going on that's not just, you're going to step in. You're going to step into your power in a way you didn't even know you had it.
Yeah,
So
that's
we don't need
powerful.
to think about it. And there's a good exercise to do. Think about all the times you did step into your power. When you saw something was wrong and you defended someone, or you made sure that something was happening for people around you, for yourself, and you said, no, I'm not going to do that. That does not serve me. And you said no, which is really powerful. Or you said, yes, I could be of service. That's standing in your own power, but don't think about it too much. Just,
Yeah.
you can make a big long list of all the times you've stood in your power. You just didn't realize that's what it was.
Okay. Right. I'm on page 29 still on the book. I'm reading your book and I'm on page 29. So I'm getting there. But moving on to the second secret, you talk about don't let fear stop you. And I feel like this is like a mountain that all of us, I think, go through at different stages in our life. And when you wrote that, what are some of your tips to get past that fear? Because that's the hardest hurdle, I feel. But of course, I do think some of the others that you shared as well. So moving on to your second secret.
Well, you're either operating in fear or you're operating in love. And once you know that, I believe they're the two basic emotions on the planet. It could be anger, that's based in fear. It could be nervousness, it's based in fear. Excitement is based in love. So when you think about it, you say, am I sitting in fear, or can I transfer that and open my heart and come from a place of love? You know, we're afraid that we're going to be laughed at. We're afraid we're going to make a mistake. We've all made mistakes and we're all still here. And that's perfectly fine. But if you really want to do something, fear won't stop you. You need to be able to just face the fear and do it anyway, within reason. You don't want to put yourself in danger. But certainly I had a client who said, no, I'll never do a Facebook Live. Absolutely not. I'm not going on camera. And people sort of chuckle now because not only does she do Facebook Lives, but she has developed her own style and she only has one eye that shows. You see her head and
Wow.
one eye, and she takes photos like that. So if we're networking together, she'll take a selfie with just that little piece. So she's branding herself with something she was too afraid to do.
And that's so interesting that she's got one eye. And wow, that's interesting. And then you talk about the next secret being consciously direct their thoughts and feelings.
And that's how you move on from the fear. That's how you don't let fear stop you. You have to really be thinking about it and you say, okay, what am I afraid of? What am I really afraid of? And we'll paint a terrible scenario. And as a dream coach, what I learned was take those objections, take those voices that you're hearing that I call the itty bitty shitty committee and fire them and change that. Say, is that true? If I don't get this client, will I really be homeless? Will I be living on the street? Probably not. You know, whatever it is, we can dig a little deeper and find out what the base fear is that's surrounding it. It may be something from our past that we had that fear. That maybe, I know I was in a position in my life where I didn't have enough to eat. And I always have a full fridge now because it's one of my fears is to be living in poverty again. And I don't want to go there. It becomes my motivator. But I can consciously control my thoughts so that I don't spin out of control and scare myself about something that's never going to happen.
This is like a masterclass in progress as you're breaking it down. And I'm loving this conversation so far. And then you move on to manage their time and agendas. Is this the most important, or you feel 1, 2, and 3 can happen only if they can actually apply action. So manage their time and agendas. I feel like, there's productivity, time management on one side, and then there's the rest of the world. So people are always saying, I struggle with procrastination, I struggle with time management, I don't have time. And I find like sometimes your goals are strong, you want to achieve it, but somehow making time has become challenging. So how do you address this secret in your book?
Well, we certainly can't make any more time.
Mm,
And I teach a program, and I teach it to my one-on-one clients also. And I used to call it time management, and I don't anymore. It's
mhm,
called ROIT, return on invested time.
mm. Okay.
Is this really the best use of my time right now? Is being on this podcast with you this morning the very best thing I could be doing for myself? Yes. And for everybody else? Yes. This is where I need to be today. But when you're flipping through Facebook,
Mm,
ask yourself, is this the best use of my time?
yeah.
Or Instagram or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Or ironing pillowcases or ironing,
Or Netflix.
or Netflix. Yeah,
Yeah.
Netflix. Is
That's
this the best use of my time? And sometimes it is.
mm,
Sometimes you need to take a break. You want to rest. You want to shut that brain down a little bit and just relax.
mm,
But would it be better use of your time if you picked up a really good book and you read it?
yeah.
Treated myself yesterday. I'm reading a book that my granddaughter, who's 13, lent me, and it's called The Invisible Life of Addie. And it's got past life regression and forward, and it's a fascinating book. And I gifted myself 2 hours yesterday to read the book. I'm not done yet, but
Yeah.
I read from 2 to 4. It was a holiday here yesterday. I
Mm,
got a whole bunch of other things done, but that's the best gift I can give myself, is that gift of time. And when I do live workshops, I always end them a little bit early.
mm,
And I have people just sit in the chair and close their eyes, and I time it for 1 minute. I call it the gift of time. When was the last time you just sat for a whole minute and didn't move and didn't do anything?
mm,
And as I watch the participants, they're fidgeting at the beginning, and by the end, they don't want to open their eyes. They don't want to leave, because they said, I can't remember the last time I sat for just a minute. So that's really important, to manage your own time and your agenda. Otherwise, everybody else is going to be controlling us, and we don't want that. And
yeah.
we certainly don't want our email or whatever. We need to know our values, be very clear on what our values are. And if our values, like one of my top 5 values is family.
Mm,
And someone said to me, she said, you're so generous with your time with the family. And
mm,
my daughter lives 4 doors away, and her 2 girls and her husband. And I said, yeah, my mother died when I was 17. I didn't get that time with them. I didn't have, and my children didn't have a grandmother.
mm,
So of course I'm going to be here exchanging books with them. How much fun is that? You want to know
yeah.
about Zest? Talk to them.
Yeah.
4 granddaughters, they can tell you about Zest.
I love how you're sharing this as gifting yourself. I love what you said. And I feel like that's something I'm definitely going to borrow and apply that language, that conscious language, to the way I see my time, that you gifted yourself 2 hours to read this book. And thank you. I'm going to use that in my conscious self talk. And with that, we move to the next secret, which is honor their dreams and desires.
Well, and step back, that manage your time and agendas. When you think of it as gifting time, aren't you directing your thoughts and feelings? They
Yes.
all tumble one into the other. And yes,
Yes.
honor your dreams and desires. So you need to know what they are. And that's my
Mm,
gift to your audience, is when they go to my website, they will have a free workshop to be able to know what their dreams and desires are. I was listening to a song by Katy Perry. I was driving in the car with my granddaughters, and I said, who is that? And the words in the song said, what happened to our dreams? Did we leave them in a box in the attic? And it
mm,
was like, wow, How many of us have those dreams that we have not fulfilled? That may be an old dream, or we don't dare to dream, or all of our dreams come true. And then it's like, how dare I want more? How dare I want more for my life, for my business? But you know what? If that was the case, we'd still all be driving, riding around. I don't know in India if you ride around on tricycles when you're a
Yeah,
child.
yeah.
And
Yes,
then
we
you
did.
move up to a bicycle and then you don't even think about it. You don't go, oh my, do I feel guilty? Do I deserve moving into a two-wheel bike? You don't think about it. And
Yeah.
so it's natural for us to have bigger dreams and desires. And as we do that, and it causes us to step into our leadership, to step into our power, and then we could build a better world.
Amazing. Amazing. I'm loving this. And the next one is take action to make a difference. So the way I'm seeing this is you make time, you step into your power, let go of your fears, consciously focus on your thoughts and feelings. So you're actually moving from fear to love and forward thinking and visioning. And then manage your time and agenda so you can actually go after the dreams that you want. So then you're talking about dreams and desires. And now you're saying, okay, let's talk about action. So take action to make a difference. Tell me about this.
Well, I remember years ago when Celestine Prophecy came out, 30, 40 years ago, maybe now, and people misread the book. They thought it meant, oh, well, everything is predestined. So I'm just going to sit here on the couch and watch Netflix and my life will be whatever it's going to be. Well, if you want your life to go in a direction, it's up to you to take action to make that happen. And I call those miracles. You need to be clear on what you want. I'm going to visit my sisters, and I haven't seen them in 3.5 years.
Wow.
So it's a 6.5 hour drive by myself, and I'm fine with that. And I wanted this so badly. I wanted this miracle. I thought, how am I going to make that work? Because my younger sister lives on the other side of the country, and she has a cottage that she comes to for the summer. And I thought, okay. So I sent her dates. I said, I'm taking that week off. And she said, oh, that isn't good for me. I says, well, when is? And then she gave us dates. I'm going to go see my older sister and my younger sister. The three of us are going to spend some time together. But I had to take action.
Yeah.
And I said to my older sister, she says, well, I don't think we're going to get invited. I said, you start praying for that miracle and you just watch me. And that's the way it happens. But you need to get the moment going. There's something about inertia. Once you push the ball, it will continue to roll. You need to know what your dream and desire is. What do you want? And then you can make it happen. What's one thing you could do today that will step you closer to your dream? One thing. Just, we can't walk by taking 2 steps at a time. We walk 1 step at a time.
Yeah.
And that's taking action. It could also be donating money. It doesn't have to be something you're doing. Every one of my clients, my one-on-one clients, I donate a nice portion of the fees they pay me. Half goes to the food bank in Ottawa, and the other half goes to Dress for Success in Ottawa, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with
I've
it.
heard of Dress for Success America. It's a chapter. Is it a chapter?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And so women go there to get clothing so that they could apply for jobs.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have plenty of clothing, but cash is always handy for them too. So I give donations to those 2 organizations with every client I sign.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And your last secret, your 7th secret is for women with Zest is to love their lives, right? I know what this means, but explain to our audience what is this secret and how do you share, how do you break this down for the audience when we mean love our lives? Because some people are, I love my life. But when you put this down and the secrets that we are talking about, these women who are women with Zest, living their lives, how do you define loving their lives.
I wrote a blog about this a while ago, that when someone describes their life to you, so tell me about your life. Oh, well, I have to do this and I have to do that. And they don't sound like they're loving their life. And
Mm,
how we describe our life is exactly the way our life is going to be. So if you describe your life as being one of hardship and misery and loneliness and all the language that went around being locked up, we're locked up because of COVID. You weren't locked up. There were no bombs falling on our heads. We still had a fridge full of food.
mm.
So yeah, food's important to me.
Yes, but that's fine.
So that's loving life. And it's our language, again, goes back to how we describe our life is going to be the life we have. So if you want a life filled with zest and you take all the actions, start loving your life. And if there are parts in your life that you don't love, change it. You
Mm,
can change it. Just be really clear on your dream and your desires, align it with your values, and make it happen.
yeah, amazing. And that's the 7 secrets that you share in the book. And that brings me to my next question, which is, would you say all 7 are equally important, or is one more important than others?
Well, it's like if you look at a piece of fabric, and what's more important, the threads that go this way or the threads that go up and down? Or is it the buttons or is it the buttonholes? It all comes together.
Yeah.
So they're all important because they're all woven together so that we can have that complete zesty life that we're looking for.
Yeah. And to me, when I was looking at the 7 secrets, I felt, I like how you described that, like what's more important. And so equally, everything is equally important. But when I was looking at the 7 secrets and I said, okay, which of these are more challenging to accomplish? What, according to you, I mean, I felt like maybe the fear, right? Fear takes longer. What, according to you, is more challenging to accomplish among all of this?
I think you're right. I totally agree with you. The fear, because it keeps coming back, and
Mm,
that ties in with our power. So when you feel powerless, it's because you've let fear in. And fear is a hungry monster. It wants attention all the time. So
yeah.
you give some of your fear over your power over to fear over here. You give it to your family. You might give it to your friends. Your power is pretty soon all over the place. And fear is the hungry monster that will take the biggest piece
Mm,
of your power.
yeah.
The good news is you could take it back. You
Mm,
can take your power back from wherever, but you drive me every week.
mm,
Well, next week, make some different arrangements.
mm.
I'd like to see you, just like our children, we help them to progress and
Yeah.
give them some independence.
Yeah.
You don't want to get yourself in a situation where you've got a codependency triangle going,
Yeah.
because if you're rescuing someone, you're making them a victim.
Yeah.
And then, so you've got on the triangle, you've got the victim, and then you're the persecutor. Why am I always the one that gets used?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to
Absolutely.
be the rescuer. As soon as you rescue someone, you make them a victim, and that's just not fair. So you want to not be giving your fear away to maybe somebody won't like me. Not
Mm,
everybody likes me, and I'm okay with that. And you know
yeah.
what? I don't like everybody either. I've
Yeah.
got some people I'm not particularly fond of, and it's
Yeah.
usually mutual, so that's fine. But it's
Okay.
also the other way around. You meet somebody and you go, oh, I love that person. So we want to stay with that. But you're right, fear, and it haunts us in strange matters. Whatever you wake up with in the middle of the night,
Mm, yeah. Yeah.
what's
I think
nagging?
so. Yeah. I think also fear. But like you said, if you consciously direct your thoughts, it can be something that maybe you don't get rid of it fully, but you can manage it, you can overcome it, and slowly it just starts to feel like you've got this. And it just doesn't come up every day. Maybe it comes up once a month or maybe once a year, and that's like a great place to start. So yes, I think all these secrets are great. But my question to you, I always love hearing about how what other people's lives are like. Facebook, me being the wanting to know about everyone else's life. So how do you apply these secrets in your own life?
Well, I love my life. And the parts that I don't love about my life, I make sure that I do as much as I can to change it.
Mm,
And that's when we were in lockdown, my cleaning people couldn't come and clean my house. So
mm,
I had to find another cleaning service. That
yeah,
may be a very small example, but I don't like cleaning toilets. I really don't. And it's nice that I can pay and have these women come. And there was a young man that came. It's a brand new company, and she's young and she's so excited about her business. And it's lovely to be able to help her out that way.
yeah,
But I meditate every morning. So, how I start my day
yeah.
is my alarm goes off at 6:15. I'm often awake before then. And then I will have a glass of lime juice
Hmm.
while I do my meditation. And I do Vishen Lakiani's meditation, the 6-phase meditation from Mind Valley.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for 3 or 4 years. I started it on that beach in Jamaica.
Okay. Nice to know. And I
And I
love
read his
wishing.
whole book, the Book of the Extraordinary Mind. And I
Yeah.
have filled journal after journal after journal with all my dreams and desires in there. And I love that meditation. So I do that meditation, and then I'll have a cup of coffee. I may have breakfast with my husband.
Hmm.
And then I have blocked time on my calendar
Mm,
to know, what do I need to accomplish this week? And at the top of my calendar, every day, I have an intent at the top. And at the end of the day, I write down what my wins are.
yeah.
And the intent is really important. I set an intent for everything I do. I had
Hmm.
an intent set in my meditation for this podcast.
Okay.
So one of my intents, I had the intent on here, was to resonate with everything I do.
Mm,
Another one was, my intent was trust. Just trust that it was all going to be fine. Because when
yeah.
you trust and believe, the fear goes away.
Hmm.
And then at the bottom, I could be that you sent an email, could be that you had a conversation with someone, whatever your wins are at the end of the day, so that we
Mm,
can celebrate those victories.
yeah. Okay. Powerful routines. I love it. And what does the rest of the day of your, rest of the day in your life look like?
And then by 5 o'clock, my husband is preparing dinner. He does all the cooking.
Hmm.
And then I'll go down and I'll often have a glass of wine and I'll set the table. Then we have a lovely dinner together. He really can cook
Mm,
really well,
okay.
quite amazing. And then we'll either watch TV, or we've also instigated what we call book club.
Hmm.
So we'll each read a book instead of turning on the TV. And I always have at least one book going. Usually I have a couple in the Kindle, and
Mm,
this one's a paper book. So I will have that. So we'll just read. We'll just sit there and read for a few hours, and then we start heading up for bed around 10 o'clock.
okay. And I also remember you sharing that you do weight training. Those are things that you do, right? And I think where you live is also it's really you did share that you live in Toronto, in a very nice place. So
Ottawa.
you have, yeah, so you have all of that. And I love hearing about people's days. It's very strange why I asked this question, but when I hear and I resonate, and I'm like, yeah, that's so much like me. So I do a lot of journaling and reading. I think beyond that, sometimes I feel like maybe I'm not doing enough. I mean, I don't have too many hobbies, but if you give me a book over Netflix any day. So lovely to hear that you have a book club going. And finally, as we come to the end of this interview, the conversation has been so great so far, but I can't let you go unless I ask you, what is a piece of advice to all the women who are listening in today?
Well, I would love for them to really follow the 7 secrets of women with zest. And they could just start by gifting themselves that 1 minute to think, what is it that I want in my life? they can go to my website and they can get the Dreams and Desires workshop downloaded for them and really take a good look at that. It's really important for us to know what our dreams are so that our dreams can come true. So gift yourself that, know what your dreams are, and then you could start taking action for them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. On that note, I will also share with the listeners that in the show notes, we are sharing Linda's website, the link to her book. You can either get it on Kindle or on Audible. Are you on Audible as well for the book?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. But you can get it on Kindle. And I'm also reading it right now, and I will share my review as well on, you can find my review on Kindle as well. And Linda, thank you so very much for today. I feel like everything that you shared has resonated so much with me. And I take away, even though I'm in the same space, we take away so much from a conversation. And so for that, I thank you for being here with us today and with my audience. And I hope to stay connected with you, and I wish you all the very best with your life, your business, and of course, we'll stay in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.